My name's Andy Reid, and welcome to the Alchemicast right here at Alchemical Records, where we focus on musicians from the DMV and we highlight some of the things that they've been working on and some of the projects that form the personalities behind the musician. With me today, I have Aman, otherwise known as Sun Stoney, a lo-fi electronic artist who brings in elements of soul and heart into her music. We're going to discuss a lot about her background, her fascination with photography, and the ability that she has as a contributor to create new content to a magazine, as well as online, as a musician and a media creator in her own right. With me on the show, I'm going to bring in Aman in a moment here. Aman, you are live right now on the Alchemicast. How's it going?
Going well. How about you?
All right. I'm doing great. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Of course, of course. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah. So how's it been going? What have you been up to?
Oh my God, so much. I am the past, I want to say 4 months. I have been working with my friend Bike Music, aka Owen Martin, on a brand new EP that's going to be coming out next year. And we just finished tracking drums at Inner Ear Studios in Arlington. So now I'm putting like my producer hat and chopping stuff, which is hilarious since I just put something out in February. And I'm already like, all right, next project, let's go. But yeah, I've been really focused on that the past couple months.
Yeah,
And
you
weeks.
released an album in your apartment in February, which was about 9 songs that you created during the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
What can you tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, in your apartment is like an emotional, I don't know, it's like an emotional expose on like past relationships that were like extremely toxic and horrible. And it was basically a bunch of really bad experiences that I needed to like dig through and just like figure out. Um, so I did that sonically, lyrically. A lot of the songs are about, just like breakups, ending in ways that I wish I could go back and fix. But then there's also like elements of, you know, empowerment, how I feel after the dust settles and everything, and kind of getting out of that hole and being like, you know, those were all bad experiences and it happened, but, there's more to life than that.
Right. Yeah, and having the ability to stand up on your own 2 feet and walk forward, definitely. Uh,
Yeah.
it
And I
sounds
think it
like.
was therapeutic. Sorry.
Oh no, no, go ahead. It's all you.
um, it was primarily like a music therapy project where I was like, okay, like let's really just dig up the past real quick and see if we can like, get better through this process of like really letting it all go. And then I kind of stood back and was like, hold up, I got an album.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I like blacked out and was just like putting everything on the line, like all my vulnerability, all my emotion into a sonic like body of work. So I'm excited
For
to chat.
for all of our listeners and viewers out there, Sun Stoney sounds a little bit like Alabama Shakes and Flying Lotus came together, and maybe hung out with another artist by the name of Tycho. We talked a little bit in the green room just about your background and interest in these influences. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Sunstoney and what your sound is.
Yeah, Sunstoney is like a bunch of different textures. It's a lot of soft synths, deep kicks and 808s, um, a lot of textures and found sounds that I wouldn't have necessarily used a long time ago. I mean, it's lo-fi, it's down tempo, it's moody, it's dark, but it's like a representation of myself, and I feel like it's the part that I don't show necessarily to everyone. So it's almost like this nice little secret that I randomly just give to people. But some influences that I have are like Flying Lotus, of course. He's an OG. Hiatus Coyote for
Yeah.
her vocal stylings. Kimbra's huge for me. Little Dragon, amazing with the synthesizers. Let me see what else. I like so many people. It's so hard to pinpoint sometimes, just because there's so much good music out that it's like, oh, I love this. I should make something like this, you know? But those are kind of like my top vocalists and like instrumental producers. Oh, Lapalux. I'm done. There it is. There it is. I'm done.
When you're in the studio making music, what's your process look like?
Um, a lot of the times I will try to make a whole song before I even write to it, like produce it instrumentally. So sometimes I'm in Logic, sometimes I'm in Ableton. I have like a Yamaha MIDI keyboard. I got like Rocket speakers and Focusrite. And I'll like produce it all in there, and then I write over the beat and kind of like record vocals, chop up the instrumental, move things around so it wraps around the vocal. Uh, but it changes every time. I mean, in my early stages, I used to just like find a lo-fi beat on SoundCloud and write to it, and then try to remember that cadence and recreate it at home. Um, Not the track itself, but the vibe, the mood,
Yeah.
the drums, you know? But yeah, that's kind of my process. And I think lyrically, when I'm writing, I always try to pull from a situation because that's what I like relate to, rather than writing about a person or a place. I mean, within your apartment, it was like every song was about someone. But with other songs that I've made in the past, it's always been like, this was an experience I had. What was it like? What did I see? What did I smell, hear? Things like that.
When you're playing music, do you feel like it's therapeutic and you're kind of processing things?
Definitely. You know, it's almost like spiritual, you know, it's like here's everything that I've been wanting to say but don't say on a regular basis. So it's like I'm processing things that are important to me or things I'm too scared to say out loud. Like a lot of the stuff that was on In Your Apartment was just like things I just kept burying. And then as soon as like wrote all the songs, it was like, oh, you actually don't have to carry this weight anymore. So I feel like it's very freeing.
Yeah, and especially, when you're trying to write a song and you're focusing on such dark themes, it brings you to some dark places. And you use music to have that light to bring you out of those dark tunnels. Um,
Most definitely.
One of the gifts of being a musician is that you have the ability to share that light with others. I mentioned in your introduction that you're a member of a local zine and that you're a contributor as well as a photographer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Right now, the only thing I'm really contributing to is a wonderful zine called Paper Jam. It's all about DC DIY and the music scene and community. Um, I'm contributing mostly as a photographer with a little bit of writing on the side, but it's incredible. And then I also do a lot of band photography. I've been doing that for 10 years now, which is crazy. Uh, but yeah, right now my biggest focus is like, if I'm gonna do photography, it has to be for a project or like for promotional use. So some recent acts I photographed was Jasmine Gillison. She's a local indie rock, moody folk uh, band. I photographed another band called Milk. They're in DC. Pretty cool, kind of like in that indie rock. I'm always around the alternative indie bands. It's so funny. It's like I don't even make alternative or indie music, but I love listening to all that stuff. So,
Who are some of your favorite bands in the area right
ooh, that is a great question. Okay, Time Aspire, although they're not active right now, but their last record was incredible. Um, I love Bottled Up. That's another surf rock alternative band in DC. Can I include Maryland and Virginia or just DC?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all about the D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, full DMV mode. I love Donnie Dale there in Baltimore. I love Ty Sorrell in Richmond. Deary Birds, Richmond. Yeah, those are my top, honestly.
And are
Flower
these
Bomb Band. Ooh, they're so good. There's so much good.
are these bands that you have listened to, that you've partied with, that you would consider influences or inspirations?
These are friends, and also some of them are friends. Some of them are bands that I've like physically gone to see, like Sir EU, incredible. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a really great rapper. Works with like Rob Stokes. Does like a lot of really cool electronic house music. But yeah, no, these I try to like, if they're local, I always try to say hi and be like, "You're incredible, that was amazing." But yeah, I have varying relationships with a lot of these bands.
Yeah, and especially in the music industry, it's all about the relationships you have. Because when you form one connection, you have no idea what that connection can expand to. The
Really,
7 degrees of separation, how you can start with one person and then end up on the other side of the country or the world, playing in a different venue. It's crazy how things work. Maybe
definitely.
you could tell us about a recent experience. It could be musical or personal, where you felt like you were just going with the flow and that you had to follow these connections. What was an example of a recent connection that you were following?
Yeah. So okay, this was a couple years ago, but not as recent, but it is really cool. I got asked to play a show for a friend of mine who does like political, brings political awareness to like really big issues like, uh, you know, kids in IC and stuff like that, and LGBT queer folk that have been detained or have trouble getting their papers, immigration issues, things like that. And I like met her in passing, and I knew she knew friends in the music scene in Brooklyn. And she asked me to play this show, and I played a show in Brooklyn. And I'm not even from here. I'm not from the scene. I don't know anybody but this random girl. And I played this space called the Owl Music Parlor. It's somewhere in Brooklyn, but it was really cool because everyone on the bill that I met uh, was like a person of color, queer, comes from like an immigrant background, makes music. It was like, wow, this is insane. And they, they still reach out and are like, oh, if we ever do this again, like, we'd love to have you. And it was just like a really cool experience
Yeah, like
off one connection.
a whole community that you probably just wouldn't have otherwise been introduced to if it wasn't for a connection, right?
Yeah, a whole community worth supporting with a cause. And we raised like $700 just off donations of people just chilling in the space.
That's
That's a
amazing.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of money just to help someone out,
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Way to use your gift for good.
I mean, I feel like every band should be lightly ethical, but
Yeah.
capitalism.
So at this point, I'd like to try this new segment we've been working on called This or That. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to mention a this or a that, and all you have to do is choose one and just tell us a little bit about why you made that choice. We're going to start with Mac or PC.
Mac. Yeah. Just better processor. And I use it for all my music making and photography software stuff. So
Yeah, it might be easy for some. James Brown or Rick James?
James Brown. Oh my God. Icon living.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a hard choice, but like it's kind of like saying one's funk and one's also funk. Which one's funkier? It's not a contest.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I grew up on James Brown music, so it's just like no question there.
Mac and cheese or mashed potatoes?
Wow, you're really coming for me. That's like all I ever buy at the grocery store: mac and cheese and mashed potatoes. I'll do mac and cheese. Yeah, that's it. Cheese. Hmm.
Jeez, yeah, I get that.
Well,
Uh,
there's no explanation necessary.
Rolling Stones or Beatles?
Beatles. You can't even deny that.
Hmm.
Icons. Also, like the basis of a lot of really good songwriting and production for like a lot of what psych rock, indie rock, garage rock is today. So I don't
Sure.
know.
Ringo inspired a whole line of drummers just wanting
A
to,
whole movement.
yeah, just like Ringo. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those drummers, but he is a fantastic drummer. I studied a little bit of, Abbey Road and really tried to work on it when I was teaching at School of Rock. And
Oh, that's cool.
I'm not, bashing on Ringo. I think when drummers look at him, they see him as uh, the one Beatle that kind of stands out. And when you compare the Beatles as a whole to what the Rolling Stones do or, did at the same time, at the same time in rock and roll history, they were both moving at a high velocity in the upward direction. So Ringo, as a drummer, I feel like he was just not aware of his gift. And if he was a little bit more aware, then he would have been up there with the Rolling Stones. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh, that's the tea right there. I can appreciate both sides. So yeah.
We got Drake or Justin Bieber.
That was the most painful two options I've ever heard in my life. Oh, Drake. He's always putting out heat. Plus, he put out a song with Titus Coyote, and that's just like, that's it. Not big on him per se. I remember him when he was in Degrassi, so he's just like a character to me at this point. But he is an amazing writer, producer,
Sure.
Yeah, rapper.
I get down with Drake. I feel like as a producer, he creates these, like you were saying, textures, and I find I really listen to that and try to break it down, and I'm like, I wonder what he's doing in the studio, and like, how he made that environment, come to life.
He always is on the next, and he always knows how to like. I don't know. He always knows how to like attempt a genre that may not necessarily be like every rapper's stuff, like he's not doing trap, he's doing like, tropical house sometimes, like Hotline Bling, like what was that?
Yeah, right.
That was really interesting. And his visual video concepts are interesting. He's cool. Drake.
And the last one is Metro or Uber.
Oh, who's gonna show whether I'm bougie or not? You know what? Metro in pre-COVID times, just because I don't know, it's nice to sit on a train. If it's not 5 p.m.
Yeah, no, the Metro was, it is, but like
staple.
Pre-COVID, it was cheap, and it's how you can get from point A to point B if you don't mind just like putting your headphones on, and public transit definitely. That said, Uber makes it almost too easy to get from like point A to point B. How do you feel about Lime scooters? Those you can rent?
Yes. I have never attempted to get on one because I'm scared that I'm gonna fall off and hurt myself, or a car is gonna run into me. I had a friend that was she went on a Lime scooter one time, and literally like there was a crack in the sidewalk, and she just like fell off and broke her arm. And I'm like, I'm like, that's so brutal. But some people think it's literally a car, which is even more funny. Like they're on the road. And I'm like, stop. You're not a car.
Brutal. Well, thank you for playing this or that. I hope you enjoyed that little rendition. Appreciate you diving down these two different choices we got. I wanted to move forward and ask you a question about what it means to you to be a musician from the DMV. You mentioned, talking about the Black Cat, and you're a contributor to this zine, and you're part of zine culture and hanging out with, all indie bands. What does it mean to you, Sun Stoney, as a musician, to be a musician from the DMV? What is that about?
I feel like I feel like being a musician from the DMV already has its cachet because so many prominent artists have come out of the DMV. Um, but it's like being a musician in it, like actually being just like a DIY artist. Um, you're bringing the culture at the end of the day, right? Like you're bringing culture to shows. You're representing an area, which is super interesting. Like I started making music in Richmond, and I was in college. I was at VCU. I was like learning garage band by myself. I was in another electronic project. Um, I was doing so much stuff in Richmond, and there's a huge music scene in Richmond. And I
Yeah.
was playing a lot of basement shows, and like it was like a whole like movement. Like I was in close to a lot of collectives and played venues from time to time, and it was like it was such a thing. Like everyone wanted to be a musician. Everyone was forming bands because it was cool. And that was Richmond. And then I kind of came back to the DC area post grad, and like I realized that there was like a scene in DC, and like
Yeah.
hard to find. It's hard to find the right people or who to talk to. But once you're in it, it's like amazing. You know, it's being a musician in the DMV. It's like community, it's culture, it's vibes. It's also historical. I don't know. A lot of people that come out of DC, like punk bands and hip hop bands or hip hop groups, um, and people like remember that, you know. So it's cool to be a part of the culture and be like, oh, you know, I played this really crazy space, you know. I don't know. It's cool. I think it's cool to say you're from the DMV and that you're a musician, and like uh, it already has, you know, some. Isn't Pharrell from Virginia too?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, wild. I'm like, where are you from? What part of Virginia are you from? So it's I don't know. DMV is being a musician in DMV is cool. So
Yeah, and somehow everyone runs in circles, right? So if you're part of like the open mic circuit and you're hitting
yeah,
these venues, you might see someone's name on a bill, and you're like, wait, I played with that guy in this band like
so
way back
small.
when. It's just everyone somehow knows everyone, and I love that. You can find that in most places, but I feel like in DC and Maryland and Virginia, we have our own brand, which is, a whole mixture of different cultures and sounds and flavors and, like you said, textures, possibly
Mhm.
philosophies. I love that. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I can appreciate that. It sounds like you have spent most of your career really pursuing these energies or vibrations and trying to build upon them and then add them to your lexicon, your musical language, which comes out as this lo-fi electronic experience, which is really cool to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to do this show. Really appreciate having you on the Alchemicast.
No problem. It's been super fun. I don't get an opportunity to like do random podcasts, so it's kind of tight.
I want to take this last moment just to ask you one last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. So I have a remix that's coming out with the amazing Wavy Bagels, featuring Keenan Omari, an amazing flute player. They're both from New York. Um, but yeah, it's going to be coming out hopefully late July. It's still in the mixed master mode. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Until next year, I don't really have a lot of things coming out, but oh, I have a show at DC9 in August. Almost
Hey,
forgot there.
there you go.
Almost forgot there. August 6th at DC9 with Sir EU.
August 6th at DC9. All right. Well, Amon, Sun Stoney, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been great. I really feel like I got a chance to connect with you. And I look forward to seeing what you throw out there in the months to come.
Thank you so much again, and I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. My name is Andy Reid, and this has been the Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.
was easy in my rose tinted shades. Everything's okay when the flags look the same. I don't know why you're even on my mind. Why you taking up so much space? I wanna fly away, all my senses go out. Get off my astral plane. Baby, I'm floating away. Baby, I'm floating away. You know what to do in the evening. I can say anything I want. You got me thinking real high. Baby, I'm high. I can't sleep at night. Clouded with these thoughts I can't deny. You and I were good for a while. Hey, flying down the road, 90 on this road. I can't feel my hair no more, no more. Thinking about the past, we will never last. You will never change. Oh, you think you have me all figured out? Yeah, just you wait. Just you wait. I got citrus in my teeth, an ache in my chest, shaky bones from deja vu. Goddamn, goddamn, goddamn. Petty daydreams and all the things I can't say out loud. Mad about being mad, so I'ma grab my bags and go. Airplane mode, flying so low, so low, so low. Going nowhere fast. It was easy in my rose tinted shades. Everything's okay when the flags look the same. I don't know why you even on my mind. Why you taking up so much space? I wanna fly away, all my senses go out. Get off my astral plane. Baby, I'm floating away. Baby, I'm floating away. Flying down the road, 90 on this road. I can't feel my hair no more, no more. Thinking about the past, you will never last. You will never change. Oh, you think you have me all figured out? Just you wait.